secret women don't want you to know. Make her terrified of losing you. The truth that changes everything. Many men believe that to attract a woman, they need to showcase their looks, money, status, or sense of humor, but those are just surface-level traits. What truly makes a woman deeply attached, even captivated, isn't what you have, but your ability to connect with her on an emotional level, what the speaker calls emotional penetration. This isn't about being weak or dumping your emotions on her. It's about a strong, grounded presence, being attuned, listening to what she doesn't say, and sensing even the smallest shifts in her tone or mood. When a woman feels truly understood on a deep level, without having to perform or pretend, she lets her guard down, and that's where real connection begins. Once a man understands this, he steps out of the game of proving himself and into a new kind of power, the power of conscious presence. And that's exactly why women can no longer control the game the way they used to. Emotional penetration beyond words. Alright, so we've talked about how external factors aren't the ultimate key to deep connection. Now, let's unpack the real game changer, emotional penetration. This phrase might sound intense, maybe even a little abstract, but stick with me, because it's far simpler and far more powerful than you think. When I say emotional penetration, I'm not talking about being overly emotional yourself, or dumping all your feelings onto someone. That's actually the opposite of what we're aiming for. Instead, think of it as a profound state of attunement. It's about being so present that you can listen, not just to the words she's saying, but to everything beneath them. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone is talking, but their eyes are darting around, or you just know they're waiting for their turn to speak? How does that feel? Probably not very connected, right? Now imagine the opposite. Imagine being so deeply attuned to someone that you pick up on the subtle cues, her gestures, the slight shift in her tone, those telling pauses she leaves in her sentences, or even the emotions she's clearly not saying out loud. That's the real gold. Those are the places where true, undeniable connection lives. It's a silent language, a felt sense, that bypasses all the surface noise. Let me give you an example. Picture this. You notice your partner is quieter than usual. Most men, myself included in the past, might react with frustration or impatience, thinking, "What's wrong? Just tell me." But a man operating with emotional penetration sees deeper. Instead of reacting to her silence, he might calmly observe, "You seem a little distant tonight." He's naming what he observes, not demanding an explanation. Or perhaps she's going through a tough time, a real emotional storm. Many of us, in our well-meaning attempts to fix things, might offer unsolicited advice or try to rationalize her feelings. But true emotional penetration means you can simply hold space for her storm without being shaken by it. You're the steady anchor, not the ship tossed by the waves. The impact of this, it's transformative. When a woman experiences this kind of attunement, she feels something incredibly rare. She feels truly seen, truly heard, and fundamentally, she feels not alone in her inner world. This tells her, deep down, that she doesn't have to carry every burden by herself. She doesn't have to be on all the time, constantly in control, or always performing for your approval. She can finally, truly, stop the act, stop performing, and let go. That, my friends, is where the true feminine spirit longs to be. Not in the spotlight of admiration, but in the safety of deep understanding. Now, here's the crucial part. This isn't something you can fake. You can't just read a few tips and magically act attuned. This kind of awareness, this depth, must be cultivated within yourself first. It requires you to know how to sit with your own discomfort, to listen to your own intuition, and to be still enough to notice the emotional shifts in others. It's about self-mastery, a quiet strength that comes from within. This inner stability is what gives you the incredible power to see through masks, to connect with the truth, and to offer a connection that is truly irresistible. Because when a woman feels this profound emotional penetration, it activates her desire on every single level, mental, emotional, and physical. And it's not because you tried to seduce her with tactics or lines. It's because you understood her in ways even she hadn't yet put into words. That's the real power most men miss. And once you learn to embody it, well, everything truly changes. The power of presence, beyond doing. Alright, so we've explored the profound depth of emotional penetration, that unspoken language of understanding. But how do you achieve that? It all boils down to one incredibly rare and powerful quality in today's noisy world: presence. Think about our modern lives. We're constantly bombarded, phones buzzing, notifications dinging, a million tabs open in our minds. We're always doing something, always performing. Most men believe that to be attractive, they need to do more. Say the right things, make the perfect moves, impress her with grand gestures. I used to be that guy, meticulously planning conversations, rehearsing witty comebacks, or trying to orchestrate the perfect date. And you know what? It often felt forced. It created a subtle barrier, because my energy was focused on what I was doing, not who I was being. But here's the truth. The most magnetic men aren't the loudest, the most active, or the ones with the flashiest moves. They are often the stillest, the most grounded, the ones who simply know how to be with a woman without trying to change, fix, or convince her of anything. That's the essence of presence. Presence is about depth, not drama. It's the subtle energy a man brings when he enters a room. It's not about trying to take up space or dominate. Instead, it's about being so rooted in himself that others naturally lean in, drawn by a quiet, unshakable solidity. When a man is truly present, his attention doesn't wander. He's not checking his phone every 2 minutes, scanning the room for distractions, or mentally rehearsing what he's going to say next. No, he's tuned in. He's fully present with her words, her body language, her emotional state, and even more critically, he's tuned into himself. This self-awareness allows him to respond authentically, rather than react impulsively. He's not just hearing, he's listening deeply. He's not just looking, he's seeing. Women are incredibly, almost instinctively, sensitive to presence. They can feel it in their bones when a man is truly with them, fully invested, fully there. And they can just as quickly sense when he's merely waiting for his turn to speak, or secretly seeking an outcome from the interaction. When a woman senses real, authentic presence, it creates an invisible current of safety and polarity. She feels seen, not watched or evaluated, but deeply felt. This experience is profoundly softening for her. It draws her out of her defenses, those walls she's built up over years of performance and self-protection. It invites her to show up more vulnerably, more authentically, to truly reveal herself without fear. The reason presence is so incredibly powerful is because it communicates something that few men ever manage to say directly, yet it's precisely what every woman craves. You don't have to be anyone else right now. You are enough, exactly as you are. Think about that for a moment. In a society where women are constantly performing, professionally, socially, emotionally, that kind of silent permission is utterly intoxicating. A man's presence is also his power. It shows that he's not afraid of emotion, his own or hers. He's not running from tension. He can hold the space when things get uncomfortable, when emotions are high, or when there's an unspoken truth in the air. That, my friends, more than any line or tactic, builds trust and attraction. Because if a man can be fully present with a woman, especially when she's emotional or uncertain, she'll feel something she rarely does. Safe enough to let go, to open up, and to trust him, not just with her body, but with her deepest truth. So, the question for you is, how often are you truly present? Not just physically in the room, but mentally, emotionally, energetically? The unspoken craving, permission to let go. We've talked about the power of presence, and how it creates a profound sense of safety. But why is this so critical for women today? Because, my friends, many women carry an invisible weight. It's a burden society often places on them, and tragically, one they often internalize. They're constantly performing, not always because they want to, but because they feel they have to. Think about the messages society bombards women with. Be independent, be strong, be capable, always composed, always in control. To be worthy, they're often told they must do it all. Master their career, be a perfect partner, an unshakable caregiver, a flawless friend, and simultaneously feel nothing. So they put on the mask of the high-achieving woman, the perfect partner. the emotionally unshakable caregiver. It's a polished exterior, built layer by layer to meet endless expectations. But underneath that perfectly composed facade, there's often a deep, aching longing. A longing to rest, a longing to feel held, a longing to surrender. It's a quiet yearning for a space where they don't have to be everything to everyone, all the time. And this is where a man's presence becomes truly revolutionary. When a woman meets a man who genuinely doesn't need her to perform, who doesn't evaluate her worth based on her achievements or her composure, something in her softens. You can almost see her shoulders drop, her breath deepen. She begins to exhale. In his presence, she doesn't need to prove anything. She doesn't need to justify her feelings or demonstrate her strength. Instead, she simply needs to be feminine, to be beautiful, to be vulnerable, to rest, to receive, to simply exist without an agenda. She doesn't have to be strong. She doesn't have to have all the answers. And most importantly, she doesn't have to lead, not in that constant, draining way. This, my friends, is the unspoken craving many women carry. Not to be dominated, that's a common misconception, but to be relieved of the constant pressure to lead and hold everything together. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack all your life, constantly feeling the weight. What you truly crave isn't someone to take over your life, but someone to stand beside you, offering to share the load, or simply create a moment where you can set it down and breathe. But here's the critical nuance. This kind of surrender can only happen in the presence of a man who is truly grounded in himself. This isn't about him controlling her. It's about trust. A woman cannot truly surrender to a man who is unstable, who is reactive, who constantly seeks her validation or approval to feel good about himself. Why? Because that places more burden on her. She can only surrender to someone who is emotionally anchored, who can create a space safe enough for her to unravel. Not because she's weak, but because she finally feels supported. The feminine energy isn't looking to be tamed. It's looking for a strong enough container to fully express itself within. When a man shows up with clarity, consistency, and emotional strength, he offers something precious, a pause from the pressure of performance. In that sacred space, a woman can reconnect with parts of herself she's had to bury for survival. Her softness, her wildness, her vulnerability. She feels truly free, not because she's being controlled, but because she no longer has to control everything. And when that dynamic is created, something profoundly intimate unfolds. It's no longer about rigid roles or societal expectations. It's about polarity, energy, and truth. A woman who can surrender in the presence of a man isn't becoming less. She is becoming more. Because finally, she is allowed to be all of herself, without apology, without armor, without fear. And that kind of surrender, when invited through authentic presence and earned trust, is the most powerful connection two people can share. It's a connection built on true liberation. The desire for polarity beyond perfection. So we've journeyed through the depths of emotional penetration, the power of presence, and the unspoken craving for a space to simply be. Now, let's tackle one of the biggest misunderstandings that keeps many men stuck. The belief that women want perfection. We've all been conditioned to think this, haven't we? That if we just become the ideal partner, successful, kind, agreeable, emotionally open, flawless in every way, then we'll automatically be loved and desired. I used to chase this phantom of perfection myself. I tried to anticipate every need, avoid every conflict, be everything I thought she wanted me to be. It was exhausting, and frankly, it felt inauthentic. And here's the kicker. Desire doesn't live in perfection. In fact, perfection often kills desire. True, passionate desire lives in polarity. Think about electricity. You need a positive and a negative charge for current to flow, right? It's the tension between the opposites that creates energy. In relationships, it's no different. What a woman truly craves isn't for you to be her mirror image, or a perfectly agreeable yes man. She craves contrast. She wants to feel her own emotional waves, her fluidity, her expressiveness, her ever-changing nature, crashing against the calm, grounded presence of a man who doesn't get swept away. She doesn't want you to be flawless. She wants you to be rooted. This polarity is the magnetic tension between opposites in a romantic dynamic. and it often shows up as the beautiful, complex dance between masculine and feminine energy. The feminine is fluid, expressive, emotional, intuitive, ever-changing like the tides. The masculine is directional, present, steady, and unshaken, like the bedrock beneath those tides. When a man embodies that grounded masculine energy, when he's clear on who he is, what he stands for, and where he's going, he becomes the anchor in her storm. He becomes that steady force she can relax into, that fixed point she can explore from. And that, my friends, is where real attraction begins. Not in sameness, but in contrast. Ironically, trying to be perfect often leads men to become too accommodating. We avoid conflict. We suppress our own truth. We say what we think she wants to hear. But in doing so, we unwittingly kill the very tension that fuels passion and desire. A woman doesn't want a man who bends to her every mood. She wants a man who can hold his frame when she tests him. And trust me, she will test you. These aren't malicious manipulations. They are often unconscious ways she checks. Will you stay true to yourself when I'm emotional? Will you remain solid when I push your buttons? Will you guide when I feel lost? These emotional tests are her innate way of checking whether she can truly trust your leadership, your presence, and your integrity. And the more you try to be perfect or pleasing, the less she feels that unshakable strength from you. Paradoxically, it's in your imperfection, your honesty, your clear boundaries, and your unapologetic clarity that she feels safe enough to let go of control. Polarity doesn't mean playing outdated roles or forcing dominance. It's about energetic balance. When you show up as a man who knows who he is, who leads without controlling, and who stays grounded even in emotional intensity, you create that irresistible tension that awakens her deepest desire. That's what truly pulls her in. Not the fantasy of perfection, but the powerful reality of your presence, your truth, and your emotional polarity. Because at the end of the day, she doesn't want you to be perfect. She wants you to be powerful, emotionally, mentally, energetically. She wants you to be a man who knows himself and stands strong, so she can fully be herself beside you. True understanding, beyond tactics. Alright, we've journeyed deep into the power of presence, the craving for surrender, and the magnetic pull of polarity. Now, let's bring it all home to a concept that underpins every meaningful connection: true understanding. For far too long, men have been taught to approach women as if they're some kind of puzzle to decode, or a formula to master. We're bombarded with tactical advice. What to say, how to behave, which moves to make. I've been there, diligently studying articles and videos, trying to memorize the right lines or the perfect gestures. But what I consistently found was that this tactical approach, while seemingly logical, often creates distance rather than genuine connection. It's like trying to connect with someone by reading their instruction manual instead of actually listening to their heart. What truly draws a woman in? What makes her feel safe enough to open her deepest self to you? Isn't manipulation. It's a profound, unwavering attuned awareness. It's when a man can sense what she needs without her having to spell it out in painstaking detail. It's when he notices those subtle shifts in her energy, the way her voice might soften, or a brief flicker of vulnerability crosses her face. And then he responds not with a calculated charm, but with grounded clarity. That is when she begins to feel truly, deeply understood. Think about the world women navigate. Their emotions are so often dismissed, minimized, or fundamentally misunderstood. Don't be so sensitive. Why are you overthinking this? It's not that big of a deal. So, when a man enters her life who doesn't try to fix her feelings, silence them, or God forbid, use them against her, she feels something incredibly rare and precious: safety. Emotional safety is the bedrock upon which her ability to open, connect, and trust is built. And that kind of safety can only come from a man who isn't trying to get something from her. Not sex, not approval, not validation. Instead, he is fully present with her, genuinely curious about her inner world, and responsive without being reactive. He's not triggered by her emotions. He's simply there to witness them. Manipulation is surface level. It seeks to control the outcome, to get a desired reaction. But understanding goes much, much deeper. It's a silent declaration that says, I see you, even in your contradictions. I hear you, even in your silence. I accept you, even in your beautiful mess. It's a radical act of acceptance. And here's the often overlooked truth. This kind of emotional understanding demands self-awareness from you. A man must first know how to navigate his own emotional terrain before he can possibly hold space for hers. If you're uncomfortable with your own vulnerability, if you tend to suppress your own feelings, you will inevitably panic or shut down in the face of hers. But if you have done your inner work, if you know how to sit with your own discomfort, to listen to yourself without needing to constantly fix or judge, and to speak your own truth with honest clarity, then you become a force she can truly trust. You become the safe harbor she's been searching for. When a woman feels this profound level of understanding, she doesn't just let her guard down because she's weak. She lets it down because she feels safe enough to be truly real. And when she feels that level of attunement, her entire connection to the man shifts. She's no longer evaluating him, no longer testing him. She's drawn to him because he reflects parts of her she rarely, if ever, gets to share with the world. That is the power of true understanding. It doesn't demand her attention. It earns her trust, her openness, and ultimately, her deepest desire. And let me tell you, no tactic, no trick, no pickup line can ever replace that. Grounded masculinity, the irresistible inner power. So far, we've peeled back the layers, moving beyond superficial attraction to the power of emotional penetration, the profound impact of presence, the feminine craving for safe surrender, and the undeniable draw of polarity over perfection. But what ties all these threads together? What's the ultimate source of this magnetic force? It's what I call grounded masculinity. Imagine a man who truly knows himself, not in an arrogant, boastful way, but with a quiet, unshakable power that comes from deep within. This man doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He's not bending or shrinking to gain attention or approval. He simply exists with a depth that naturally draws others in. It's like a lighthouse. It doesn't chase ships. It simply stands tall, radiating its light, and ships are drawn to its unwavering presence. Women feel this difference instantly. They possess an innate radar for authenticity. They sense when a man is truly rooted, when his confidence isn't a performance or a status symbol, but an emanation from his core being. And that kind of masculine energy, my friends, is not just rare, it is deeply magnetic. Now, let's be clear. This inner grounding doesn't mean being emotionally detached or cold. In fact, it's the complete opposite. It means being so comfortable with your own emotions, your own desires, and your own boundaries that you no longer fear expressing them. Think about the Stoic philosopher who can remain calm amidst chaos, not because he feels nothing, but because he has mastered his internal landscape. A grounded man doesn't collapse under pressure. He doesn't react impulsively when tested. He stands firm, not as a form of stubborn resistance, but as a reflection of his own deep self-respect. And when a woman encounters that kind of man, it fundamentally shifts something in her. The old narratives about needing to be in charge, needing to constantly test your worth, they begin to dissolve. She feels safe to let go, precisely because you're already holding your own ground. Grounded masculinity is not about domination or control. It's about emotional leadership. It's the profound ability to guide without pushing, to protect without smothering, to respond thoughtfully without over-explaining or getting defensive. A man like this creates calm in chaos. He brings direction to emotional storms. He isn't afraid of discomfort, his own or hers, and that makes him an incredibly rare and valuable presence in a woman's life. She intuitively knows that if she unravels, he won't run. If she speaks her raw truth, he won't collapse. If she pulls away to process, he won't chase anxiously. Why? Because he doesn't need her to complete him. He's already whole. This kind of profound presence is what truly allows women to open up. Not because they're being relentlessly pursued, but because they feel emotionally invited. When a man is deeply grounded in himself, it gives her the unspoken permission to step into her own softness, her own vulnerability, her own truth. She doesn't have to manage him. She doesn't have to lead him. She can finally relax because he's already leading himself. And in that sacred space, where trust is earned through genuine presence, not fleeting performance. A woman doesn't just desire the man. She respects him, she chooses him, and she never forgets how he made her feel. Truly seen, truly safe, and truly free. The need for safety, your unwavering presence. We've talked about connection, understanding, and the desire for freedom. But underlying all of this, deeply rooted in the feminine spirit, is a profound and often unspoken need for safety. Not just physical safety, of course, but something far more intricate and impactful, emotional safety. Imagine, for a moment, a tightrope walker. They can perform incredible feats of balance, but only if they trust the rope, and more importantly, trust the net beneath them. For many women, their emotional world can feel like that tightrope. They navigate complexities, manage external pressures, and often keep their truest feelings carefully guarded. Why? Because the world, sadly, hasn't always been a safe net. Emotions are often dismissed, judged, or even weaponized. This is where your role as a man becomes paramount. When you provide that sense of unwavering presence and emotional groundedness we've discussed, you become that net. You create a space where she feels genuinely protected, not from physical harm, but from the fear of judgment, rejection, or being misunderstood. How does this manifest? It means that when she expresses a raw emotion, be it anger, sadness, fear, or even overwhelming joy, you don't flinch. You don't try to intellectualize it away, or tell her she shouldn't feel that way. You don't react with your own defensiveness or impatience. Instead, you simply hold the space. You stay calm, present, and listen. It's the silent message. I can handle this. I can handle you. You are safe with me. I remember a time, early in my own journey, when my partner was incredibly upset about something that, to my logical male brain, seemed minor. My initial instinct was to offer solutions, to fix it, or even subtly imply she was overreacting. But instead, I remembered the power of presence. I simply sat with her, listened to her tears, held her hand, and offered no words, only my quiet, steady being. After a while, she looked up, took a deep breath, and said, "Thank you. I just needed to feel it, and to know you wouldn't judge me for it." That simple act of holding space, without an agenda, was more powerful than any advice I could have offered. When a woman feels this profound emotional safety, truly incredible things begin to happen. She can drop her guard, the constant vigilance, the need to be strong, or have it all together, finally melts away. She can be messy, vulnerable, and imperfect, knowing it's okay. She opens up more deeply. This safety is the key that unlocks her deepest thoughts, fears, and desires. She won't just share surface-level facts. She'll share her soul. Trust blossoms. This isn't just intellectual trust, but a visceral, cellular trust that allows her to lean on you, to truly relax into your strength without fear of collapse or betrayal. She finds rest. This is the unspoken relief many women crave. The feeling that she doesn't have to carry the entire emotional burden, that someone else is capable and willing to hold space for her. Your capacity to provide this safety isn't about being dominant. It's about being dependable. It's about being an unwavering presence in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable. It's about being the man who, when she is at her most vulnerable, remains steady, empathetic, and present. Unconditional acceptance, the freedom to be you. We've journeyed through the crucial needs for safety and understanding. Now, let's talk about the final, incredibly liberating piece of the puzzle: unconditional acceptance and the power of non-judgment. In today's world, women, perhaps more than ever, live under a magnifying glass of constant evaluation. From social media filters to societal expectations, there's immense pressure to be perfect, to achieve, to perform, to be constantly on point. They are implicitly, and often explicitly, told what they should be, what they should feel, and what they shouldn't express. This relentless pressure leads to a pervasive self-judgment and a deep-seated fear of being judged by others. It builds walls, both internally and in their relationships. This is why, when a man steps into her life and offers unconditional acceptance, free from judgment, it is one of the most profound and precious gifts he can give. This isn't about ignoring flaws or pretending everything is perfect. It's about accepting her as she is, with all her complexities, contradictions, strengths, and vulnerabilities. It's about embracing her in her entirety, without an agenda to change or fix her. Think about a moment in your own life when you felt truly accepted for who you are, warts and all. How did that feel? Liberating, right? For a woman, this kind of acceptance is like finding an oasis in a desert. It tells her, you are enough. You don't have to pretend. You can simply be. When she experiences this, the impact is immense. She feels truly seen. Not just the version she presents to the world, but the real, raw, authentic woman underneath. She lets go of the need to hide, the exhaustion of constantly performing or covering up perceived imperfections melts away. She can drop her guard and breathe. Her true self emerges. This acceptance creates a safe space for her to explore and express all facets of herself. Her joy, her sorrow, her wisdom, her wildness, without fear of criticism or dismissal. Deep trust is forged. When you accept someone without judgment, you build a level of trust that allows for true intimacy, where secrets can be shared and vulnerabilities embraced. How does a man offer this kind of acceptance? It starts with listening without interruption or unsolicited advice. It means validating her feelings, even if you don't fully understand them or agree with her perspective. It means respecting her boundaries and choices, even when they differ from your own. And critically, it means avoiding criticism or comparison, understanding that your role is to witness and support, not to critique or reshape. I learned this the hard way. For years, my default was to problem solve. If my partner expressed a frustration, I'd immediately jump to, here's what you should do. I thought I was being helpful, but often, she just needed to be heard, to have her experience acknowledged. When I shifted from fixing to accepting, simply listening and saying, that sounds incredibly frustrating, or I can see why you feel that way, the dynamic changed entirely. Her shoulders would relax, and she'd open up even more. This unconditional acceptance creates a nurturing environment, a fertile ground where a woman can truly flourish. It's the ultimate freedom, the freedom to be her authentic self, with all her layers, without apology, without armor, and without fear of judgment. This is the foundation for a relationship built on genuine connection, profound love, and mutual respect. So, as we bring this journey to a close, let's tie it all together. We've explored the profound truth that attraction isn't just about what you do or have, but about who you are and how you show up. We peeled back the layers to reveal the transformative power of emotional penetration, which isn't about being overly emotional, but about deep, empathetic attunement, the magnetic force of presence, a rare quality in our distracted world, where simply being with someone fully creates an undeniable pull, the unspoken craving for permission to let go, offering a woman the freedom from constant performance into the safety of your grounded presence, the undeniable allure of polarity over perfection, understanding that healthy tension, not flawless agreement, fuels true desire, the profound impact of true understanding, moving beyond tactics to genuine curiosity and acceptance of her emotional truth. And finally, the bedrock of grounded masculinity, an inner strength and unwavering presence that makes you an anchor in her world. Think about it, in a world filled with noise, distraction, and constant performance, a man who is grounded in his own truth, who doesn't seek external validation or approval, becomes irresistibly attractive. It's not about how he looks or what he says. It's about who he is. There's a quiet, unshakable power in that. He doesn't need to prove anything. He doesn't bend or shrink to gain attention. He simply exists with a depth that draws others in. This journey we've talked about today isn't just about attracting women. It's about becoming the most powerful, authentic version of yourself. It's about cultivating an inner world so stable, so clear, that it naturally radiates outward, creating deep, meaningful connections in all areas of your life. When you embody these principles, when you become the man who can offer emotional penetration, unwavering presence, safe surrender, healthy polarity, true understanding, and deeply grounded masculinity, everything changes. She doesn't just desire you, she respects you. She chooses you, and she never forgets how you made her feel. Truly seen, truly safe, and truly free to be all of herself, without apology, without armor, without fear. This isn't a game. This isn't a trick. This is the real, enduring power of authentic connection. So, what step will you take today to cultivate more of this authentic power in your life? Let me know in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this message with another man who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay grounded,